Alright, welcome back to Chain Soldier Anime Review, episode number 21. We are here reviewing the final episode of Season 2, known as Gods Assemble. Yeah, still no word. Now, I've heard rumblings about Season 3, but no confirmation from Passionate, the studio who makes this show. Yeah, I would think by now they would have basically made like an announcement, but no. There's been rumblings of possibly Season 3, but not really. There's been nothing. So we're going to talk about the last episode, Gods Assemble, which covers basically the last 3 pages of Chapter 82 and the entirety of Chapters 83-86. By the way, the manga itself had just released Chapter 179. You're probably thinking, like, how far behind is the anime compared to the manga? Just under 100 chapters. I mean, there's definitely material doing their season of the show. As of a do another one, who knows? They got a bunch of stuff happen here throughout this episode. Like, Yuki gets a lot to do this episode. Like, let's see. I think the first thing he does... Well, they kind of rearrange scenes a little bit. So let's talk basically what was presented here. So, Mira asks Kyoka to borrow Yuki for the slave mode, and he transforms into a motorcycle. Yep, first time transforms a motorcycle. And he drives out, takes out some Yuki, and they drive straight back to her base, where they kind of have a car date in a Jeep, where there's rewards, so they drink beer. He, of course, drinks the beer that she was drinking, and then she proceeds to remove her coat, take off the bandages covering up her chest. Also look like her pants will fall off too, where they're basically making out. And apparently they did it for quite a while to steam up the Jeep. This whole scene itself is a nod to Titanic. That's literally what the scene is. It's basically a nod to that, to the famous scene from Titanic. You're probably thinking, which one? It's a scene where the characters Rose and Jack, played by Leonardo DiCaprio and Cate Blanchett, where they have sex inside of a Model T, and it gets covered in steam because the sex was hot. That's pretty much basically anybody can tell that when watching the movie itself. The movie itself was also notorious for having Cate Blanchett where she is completely naked for like one scene. You see everything for her. And by the way, Titanic was rated PG-13, yet they had a nude scene in it. You would not see that in current PG-13 movies. If there's a nude scene, it's strictly reserved for R-rated movies or NC-17. So, let's see, what else? Well, before I get to more stuff with Yuki, let's talk about Thunder Gods up, or one of the Thunder Gods. The big tall girl. Let's see if I can find her name here. So, where Jiru is rubbing her belly, wondering about Kyotsu. So, then of course we're introduced to various members. Of course, we see Ririn, who's been seen before. We're seeing the other members of the group. There is Shioku, which I look at this girl. She looks almost exactly like Ren, the commander of the 8 Demon Corps. I wonder if anybody has ever brought up in the show the fact he looks exactly like her. Though, interesting fact with this character, she is voiced by Mez from Akame ga Kill. So that was I just realized just now. So we'll also see Naromi, who is this woman who likes using lightning, and doesn't wear much clothing. There is Fukuma, who is a dark-skinned woman who looks like basically Commander Ren, but just with different skin color, different hair color, just similar design. Ririn, we introduced to Jiren, who is, for some reason that you look at this person, it's a woman, but you can tell by the voice, but yeah, it's clearly a woman. Apparently she's the youngest, despite the fact everyone thought that The other one, basically, Kyoto's youngest, no, Jiren's youngest. We're also introduced to Tioku, who comes down from the ceiling, and apparently she works for someone named Mother. No credit. Yeah, this episode was basically her introduction. Now, some of the 800 gods were seen, and of course, they also have these. When they have these like devotees because they want revenge for Kyoto's death, so Sioku gets stabbed by Tioka as her punishment for allowing Kyoto to die. So they have to basically finally get a replacement. So they assemble and basically they go out basically to go kill some humans. And Tiosa wants 1,000 executions a day. Oh my gosh. And they don't want to do this as payback for one god's death. Yeah, this is something. So in the case of Yuki, where they have a meeting and of course they brief everybody, there's a state of emergency, tell everybody about the 8 Thunder Gods. Then we have, apparently off screen, Yuki training with all members of the 7 Corps, and there's something with Kyoka, which they moved that scene after the whole thing with me, they rearranged stuff here. And then afterwards, Kyoka is off someplace, so Ren shows up, completely out of the blue, eats food, and then proceeds to reward Yuki by treating him like a dog. And then she proceeds to kick him. It's like, yeah, you know, fine, what you're slave for, and then she just leaves. And that was a reward for giving her good food. And it's like, she wants payback for the reward that she was forced to get of him basically petting her and nearly stripping her naked. Yeah. I think she was completely embarrassed by that. Yeah. And that's pretty much it. Oh, wait, there's one other scene I forgot to mention here. Toka takes Yuki to go see his sister. His sister rides on his lap and gives the other 2 girls, Coco and the other girl, gives them massages. And all good spots. And then all this stuff happens afterwards. And that's pretty much the final episode in a nutshell. Really interesting episode. And, well, yeah, we got our typical nudity, which of course, basically, we would get the nudity for the show because it's Chain Soldier. And you're probably thinking, did the anime decide to have a scene for nudity because, well, how should I put this? You're probably thinking, did this show basically throw in nudity because the show's known for nudity? No. Basically, it was already there. Yeah, it was already there, so don't blame the studio for adding nudity because that was completely there. There's a couple short chapters that could easily have for this episode, but didn't. Yeah, but in the case of the season overall, really, I really enjoy this season. Of course, it had been a couple years since the last season there. Of course, I did bench watch this originally. Yes. Now, am I still hoping for season 3? Oh, yes. Definitely. So, Passionate did the second season of the show. The first season done by 7 arcs. Yeah, I was kind of surprised to see the fact that they did the second season as one. Of course, they're doing, next one they're doing is From All Country Monkey Master Swords, new second season of that show. That's coming out this year. Come out in July of all things. Yes. Now you're probably thinking, did they work in the first season show? No, that was 7 arcs. They did the first season show. As for the reason why they didn't do season 2, not really sure. Yeah, they did the first season of the show, and afterwards they failed frame, which I have seen. And I mentioned before about the criticism of the show was, in the case of Failure Frame, people thought the show's problem was its slow pacing. No, the problem with the show was the over-reliance of CGI. That was the problem. yeah, that was all a problem with the show, in my honest opinion. In the case of this show, the show was a lot of fun, and there's still plenty of chapters. Like, basically, since they just released chapter 179, so they just adapted 86. It means they have, let's see, take away 7. There is roughly 93 chapters that have to be adapted for the whole series. So there's still plenty there. How much did the season cover over the course of one season? So with this season, they started with chapter 46. Yes, and they ended here with 86. So they covered roughly 41 chapters in one season. You're like, wow, 41. Please don't go out again. Just hoping the power doesn't work. Anyways, yeah, the first season of the show, if you're really curious, the first season of the show only covered to basically chapter 45. That's how far they went to. And this season covered roughly 41 chapters overall. Yes. I enjoyed the new characters they introduced in season 2. Yes, I did. The one episode I was looking forward to for the season was actually episodes 6 and 7. Mainly because basically it was Yuki doing rewards with Himari and basically her hot mom. That's pretty much basically I was looking forward to the season. But yeah, that is pretty much it for the particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. The stream coming up, so I'll probably do. I may not be doing more anime tonight, so we'll find out and see. Yep. But to see you next video. Bye.